there, O class. Good morning to you all. Today is writing day, and over the next week and a half, we're going to be retelling the story of Zara, which you are now super familiar with and have got a whole bank of sentences and words that you've collected that will help you with your writing today. So here is my writer's toolkit, and these are all the features that I'm going to put into my writing to make it successful, and they're all things that we've been learning about over the last couple of weeks. Let's have a think about our story. So let's remind ourselves about our introduction. An introduction to any story introduces the setting, so where the story takes place, and any characters in our story, so that will be Zara. And they're the two things we're going to focus on today when we're writing our introduction. After the introduction comes the build-up, so how the story builds up towards a problem. And in Zara, the build-up is the endless journeys that Zara takes to and from the water pump, trying to get the water to the tree and keep it alive. The problem comes when the pump runs out of water and there's only a tiny drop left that she quickly gathers and takes up to the tree, but will it be enough to save it? We've then got a solution to the problem, which is actually an unusual one. So Zara faints, and as she faints, a single bead of sweat falls from her face down to the roots of the tree, and at the end there the tree springs into life and actually repays Zara for all her kindness by shading her from the sun. Now, to write her introduction, there are two important things we need to remember. The first part of an introduction describes the setting, so when and where the story is set, what kind of day it is. We then describe the character, so who the main character is and what they act and look like. So let's start with when and where my story takes place and what kind of day it is. Well, we can see in the picture that it's a super hot sunny day, and we can also see that it's somewhere quite sandy and desert-like. So I think I'm going to set my story in the Sahara Desert because we've been learning about Africa. I think it's got to be early in the morning because I want the day to seem really long when I build up to that problem in my story. So it's a really hot day. It's going to take place in the Sahara Desert, and I think it starts early in the morning. Mrs. Naylor's top tip for writing is to write on every other line, so it gives you space for editing, which will be the focus of our learning tomorrow. So I'm going to start by explaining it's early one morning. So one, early morning. And I need to explain where my story is taking place. So in the Sahara Desert, the hot sun shone down on a tree. So in that one sentence, I've explained that it was early in the morning, it was in the Sahara Desert, and that the weather was really hot because it was shining down on a tree. So the next part of my introduction is going to be all about Zara. So I've got to describe who she is and how she acted, as well as how she looked. So I'm going to introduce her into my story and let the reader know what her name was. So let's go with a young girl called Zara, looked up, because if you remember at the beginning of that cartoon, she stood at the bottom of the tree looking up at the leaves as they fell. So a young girl called Zara looked up at the last few dry leaves that hung from a branch. I now need to explain what type of person she was. So Zara was kind and thoughtful. Now thinking about what she wore. So she was dressed in brightly coloured clothes. But wore nothing. On her feet. Okay, let me check through my work. One early morning in the Sahara Desert, the hot sun shone down on a tree. A young girl called Zara looked up at the last few dry leaves that hung from a branch. Zara was kind and thoughtful. She was dressed in brightly coloured clothes but wore nothing on her feet. So there you go. I've described the setting and I've described the character. So I want you to now go away and have a go at doing those two things. And tomorrow we'll be looking at our writer's toolkit and seeing how we can improve our work. Good luck, everyone.